Welcome everyone to the Santa Ana Memorial Park Neighborhood Association meeting. Thank you for joining us. Those who are on the call tonight, it's a very, very important meeting. And, we first wanted to start off with a special moment of silence in honor of Raul Ramos Sr. He's the neighborhood leader who we learned passed away almost 2 weeks ago from COVID complications. So if we can just give a brief moment of silence in honor of him. Thank you. And, with that, we have his son, Raul Jr., who was able to join us and offer to help us with this meeting. So Raul, do you want to open up and welcome everyone?
Yes, sorry. Might have to, got a bit of a cough here, so
Okay.
might have to cut in and out.
Okay.
Sorry. Just like to welcome everyone to our meeting tonight, February 18th, and we'll be talking about the Splash Park funding here for Memorial Park. Trying to catch up to speed on what my father, where he left off. It looks like this is our latest project that we'll be working on. So I'd just like to welcome everyone. Thank you for coming to the meeting, and we look forward to your input, and hopefully we can get this project going.
Thank you. Thank you, Raul Jr. So Alyssa, do you want to go over the slides on how to remind people how to connect and participate?
Hi, everyone. So there are a couple of ways for you to participate during the meeting. So you'll be able to raise your hand. So it's a function that you should have on the bottom of your screen, and it's the hand feature. If you have any questions, if you want to get our attention, use that function. If you want to type in your question, you can use the Q&A box. So we'll be looking on there if you guys have any questions. Hay dos formas de participar en esta reunión. Entonces, la primera manera es puede levantar la mano, que puede nomás presar este botón que tiene la mano, si tiene una pregunta o si quiere hablar con alguien que está presentando. Otra manera es puede hacer una pregunta, lo puede escribir en el cuadro de Q y A, que va a ser este cuadro. Ways to participate if you are dialing in. So we know there is one phone call listener. So if you want to raise your hand and you want to ask a question, you dial *9. So dial *9 if you want to raise your hand, and then dial *6 to unmute yourself during the meeting. So once we call on you, you dial *6 and you can unmute yourself. Si ustedes están marcando por su teléfono, pueden oprimir *9 para levantar la mano si quieren preguntar, si tienen una pregunta, y también para deactivar el silencio oprimen *6. So there is Spanish interpretation available. Hay interpretación en español disponible. Entonces, para tener acceso a eso, va a tener que hacer clic en el círculo, que se mira como un mundo, y después va a oprimir el idioma, que es español. Entonces, sí va a haber interpretación en español disponible. Gracias.
So let's go on to the first item on the agenda. We have an update from our Mayor Pro Tem, David Penaloza, who also lives in the Santa Ana Memorial Park neighborhood. So let's zoom in on the Mayor Pro Tem, Alyssa, so that he can go ahead and just share his words. Go ahead, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Margarita. I just wanted to welcome everybody to the Memorial Park Neighborhood Association meeting. To Mr. Ramos Jr., my deep condolences to your father. Definitely, something that I remember of him is just how passionate he was of our neighborhood and making sure that everything from simple pedestrian safety to neighborhood overall safety was constantly addressed. And so my condolences to you and your family.
Thank you, sir.
We're definitely going to miss him in Memorial Park, and definitely have big shoes for someone to fill. So looking forward to that. But with that said, I wanted to welcome everybody. Thank you for taking the time out of your afternoon to be here. Just for those who don't know, I'm your council member and Mayor Pro Tem, who not only represents Memorial Park, but actually lived here my whole life. And so in Memorial Park neighborhood every single day, every morning. And I actually recently bought, as a Christmas present for myself, I bought myself a bird scooter, and I've been riding it every afternoon up and down every street, most of Memorial Park, mainly try to stay off the bigger streets, just kind of reporting everything from sidewalk defects to graffiti at Memorial Park. There was a bench that was broken in December, and try to address that. So a lot of little things that constantly our city for years has overlooked. Little investments in little infrastructure. For those, I'm sure you've all noticed the numerous sidewalks being repaired and replaced completely along Memorial Park, along streets everywhere from Park Drive to St. Andrew to Occidental. Many of our sidewalks, and St. Andrew as well, St. Andrew and Flower, big pieces of sidewalk replaced. That was a effort that we pushed for at the last budget for 2021. We didn't have a sidewalk capital improvement program, and we made sure on the city council that we would appropriate funds in public works for that purpose. There's a lot of things going on, trying to constantly do as much as I can to make sure everything is addressed and taken care of, not just in Ward 2, but in Memorial Park as well. Yesterday, there was something exciting. There was a filming of a TV commercial at Memorial Park. For those who noticed, might have driven by and seen the production company. It's kind of exciting to see things, our own park being filmed for TV productions, whether it's a TV commercial or whatnot. So that was an exciting little thing to see yesterday. I'm excited for this community center that will one day hopefully come, hopefully soon. The splash pad is exciting. I know that was something that Mr. Ramos was very excited about as well. And aside from that, I have seen on next door personally that there are people spotting a lot of coyotes, or a coyote, not multiple coyotes, but coyotes almost weekly, getting spotted around 4 or 5 in the morning through the neighborhood, through the park. So just a reminder I'm a big dog lover. I would hate to see one of our pets or little dogs or cats snatched up by a coyote. So just be or a child. We've seen that happen in other places in the country. So just be very vigilant, be careful. And yeah, I don't have anything else at the moment, but I'm sure I will have some, if anyone has some questions, I'd be happy to answer them at the end of the meeting. But I'll hand it over to the staff. Thank you guys for putting this together.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. So now we're going to hand it off to Ron Ono, who has a presentation for everyone. Let me just pull up the screen. Okay, Ron.
There you go. Thank you for everyone to join us. Also on this call is our director, Lisa Rudolph, and also our recreation supervisor, Rudy Hernandez. So if there's any other questions beyond our presentation, feel free to ask. I want to thank everyone for joining us. This is a great opportunity to get funding for a new community center at Memorial Park. I know that the neighborhood has been asking for one for years. As you all know, the existing community center is an old pool building that was converted to a center due to the lack of funding to actually build a new one. So it serves its purpose, and now it's time to build a brand new facility. Next page. Purpose of the meeting, as I indicated, is to obtain your input to renovate the community center. We applied for this grant last year. We did not receive it. We did our best, but we got valuable information from the state that we need your input on and to submit the second application. The grant application for phase 1 is $8.5 million. That's the maximum that we can request for this grant. The project is $16 million. So if we are successful in getting the grant, we will need to find our other $8 million more to match this grant. The feedback from the community that we need is regarding the facility location. By the way, I want you to remember these 4 points because at the end of the presentation, we're going to need your input on these 4 items. The facility location, the programming that you'd like to see in our new facility, any kind of beautification ideas that you may have, or any kind of safety ideas that you may have. Those are the 4 points that the state has indicated to us that we need to address in our second application. So we really need your input in these areas. Next slide. As I indicated, we've had community input before. When we first started looking at this site, we've actually had 6 community input meetings. During 5 of them indicated what you would like to see, and a majority would like to see a community center, a new community center, either renovating the existing one or building a new one. So we went forward and asked money to actually build a new one. We had a meeting on November the 6th to get some of your input on the 4 points that I mentioned earlier. And then this is our second meeting to get additional information on the 4 points I mentioned earlier. Next slide. Just to refresh your memory for some of you and some of you that have joined us, the proposed project is in 2 phases. We're talking about phase 1. Phase 1 is the L-shaped building just south of the pool on the concept plan you see to the right. It is 24,400 square foot facility. It will include a multi-purpose room, a community room, recreational rooms, a kitchen, some activity rooms, staff offices, and restrooms. It was designed to remove the existing community center, actually remove it, build a new one, but to protect in place some of the existing improvements we see. And I'll go through those items as we go through the presentation. There'll be an outdoor walkway around the building and around the pool, landscaping, new security lighting outside the facility, and a new parking lot just on the north side of the building, next to the existing restroom. Next slide. This gives you an idea on how the project sits on the existing site. The pool, as you know, is already existing. That will be protected in place. The parking lot to the east also will be protected in place. There'll be a walkway completely around the pool and towards the new facility, the 24,000 square foot facility. The phase 1 also includes building a parking lot on the north side of the facility that can be used by the building, and as well as phase 2, the basketball courts, the ball fields. So we are also protecting in place, like I say earlier, the basketball courts, the volleyball courts, the existing playground area, the tot lot, the exercise area to the south. For your information, we are also part of another project that we're working on is a new restroom just by the volleyball court. The existing restroom will be removed, and the new prefab restroom will be installed in place. And that should be coming soon because the funding is already there to do that. The prefab restroom schedule construction we anticipate in summer of 2020 and completion in summer of 2021. Next slide.
Hey, Ron. I don't mean to interrupt, but there's a question from Marvin. So he wants to know, for clarification, this is all a concept as there isn't funding for this project yet, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you.
And Ron, this is David. I just had a question. Can you repeat that timeline you said? You said this started in 2020 and it's going to complete in 2021?
No, I said that the prefab restroom, which we have funding for, is going to start construction in winter of 2020 and get completed in summer of 2021.
And that's where the existing restrooms are at?
Exactly.
Okay, so winter 2020 is essentially now, right?
Yeah.
I mean, today?
We've got the plans and specs are being prepared right now.
Okay, so we should see construction start soon?
Soon, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Next slide. Just as photos of the area. The photo to the left is looking south from St. Gertrude, the open space area. That would, if the plans go forward, that would include where the gymnasium would be located. The slide to the right is looking southeast towards the existing community center or pool building. Next slide. Slide to the left is a slide of the existing community center. And the slide to the right is looking northeast towards the community center. Next slide. The slide you see to the left is looking west, and the slide to the right is looking northwest towards the exercise area. I just want to mention that the proposed restroom is not part of this project, but it's a separate, completely separate project that we're working on. This is a conceptual plan. And again, I want to remind everybody, this is just a conceptual plan to submit for the grant that to give us an idea on how it would fit in the space. If we are able to get the grant and if we get the rest of funding to do this project, we will go through another process to fine tune the floor plan, fine tune some of the walkway locations, and try to fine tune to make sure that a lot of the existing equipment is protected in place. Next slide.
Hi, Ron. So someone has their hand raised. They have a question.
Okay.
Phone call listener with the last four digits 1887. What's your question? Oh, okay. Do you have a question? You have your hand raised.
Okay. Hi.
Hi.
So I want to know, by any chance, are you guys going to have this uploaded anywhere that I might be able to access this?
You mean like the PowerPoint or the recording?
That's correct, the PowerPoint.
Yes, we can do that. We can put it on the Parks and Recreation site.
Okay.
That sounds good. Thank you.
Next slide. This gives you an idea of the next steps that will happen. The community obviously is this month, February 2021. If there's any revisions to the plan, we need to do it in March because the grant application has to be submitted on March 12th, 2021. The state is going to review the application in spring or summer of 2021. If we're successful and we're notified, then the state will visit the site on summer of 2021. Once the project is approved and the funding is in place, the project must be completed by March 25. That's the deadline to complete the project. Next slide. Now, this slide is, if there's any additional questions to my presentation, I'd gladly answer them.
So there does not seem to be any questions. Yeah, so you can continue.
No questions. Well, let's go back. Let's go back to the second slide if we can. Next one.
The second one, or
No, not the, no, that's the second slide, the one with the 4 point. There you go.
this one?
That's the one. We need your input right now, if you can, concerning the location. If everyone's fine with the location, is there any way you can voice your concerns about that? Any questions about the programming that you would like to see in the new facility? Any kind of beautification idea? At the last meeting, there was a suggestion to either trim or thin out the trees along Flower Street, which we will do, to open up the park. So those kind of suggestions from the community will be greatly appreciated. Safety issue. I know we've got a police officer also on the panel. So if there's any question about safety, cameras, or more security lighting, or things like that, we would like to hear from you.
Mr. Ono, this is David again. I had a quick question. I have a lot of ideas and questions for just kind of the general design of the building, aesthetics and whatnot. Would this be the appropriate time to discuss those, or are we going to have a chance down the line to discuss what this building would look like on the outside? I know that currently our communities, the pool room that was converted into a minor community center is brick, all brick on the outside. And to me, brick is always pleasing, brick and stone. It's obviously more expensive, but it's more pleasing to me to look at than a stucco building like the Delhi Community Center or the Roosevelt Walker Community Center, which are great facilities, but it doesn't blend in with the rest of the neighborhood. So is that something that would be discussed right now?
Perfect. And in fact, yeah, that's the kind of ideas I'd like to have right now. But as we go through the design process, so if all the monies are together, we'll go through the same process again. But that's the kind of information we need to let the state what the facility, or what the community would like to see this facility look like.
And can I say something, Ron? What we're trying to do, everyone, is in a very short period of time, submit this application and make sure that you don't have any significant changes to the location, programming, beautification, safety. When we do the construction drawings, that's when the features of the building would be designed, and we would come back to the community, right, Ron, during that process?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Great. Thank you.
But the more ideas we can notify the state on, the better we are. That means we can at least indicate to the state that we've received a lot of community input on the location, the programming, safety, and beautification.
Ron, so it looks like Raul Ramos Jr. has his hand raised. Raul, what's your question?
Yes, Mr. Ono, regarding the phases, phase 1, 2, and the parking lot. So starting with the parking lot, is that going to be access controlled? Would that be locked at 10 PM when the park is closed, or is that going to be open to the residents to use like the perimeter parking is?
Good question, because we are now installing gates. In fact, I think we finished installing gates on all our parking lots so we can secure it at when park closes at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. So, and open it first thing in the morning for public use. So more than likely, that's what's going to happen to that new parking lot. Just like we have a gate, I believe, on the parking lot to the east and also to the west.
Okay, and looking over at phase 2, that is going to be a basketball court up there, or I can't really zoom in.
Yeah, let's go back to, we're not applying for grant funding for phase 2 at this time, but let's go
Okay.
back so I can explain what phase 2 is. There's a better picture at the end of the presentation.
Okay,
Hope you went too far. There you go. Yeah, phase 2 is the building to the northeast of the pool. And what it is an indoor basketball court.
okay,
And it's the purple ring that you see around it is going to be a track, inside track that's going to be elevated up to the second floor. So you're actually running on the second floor of the building.
got it.
The rooms that you see to the right are either offices or restrooms or shower rooms or reception rooms. And because the building is large, you'll have that opportunity to even have programs not only on the first floor, but also on the second floor, because you'll have that same space on the second floor.
Okay, got it. So, and then as far as access from phase 2 over to the pool, those are all going to be separate buildings, correct? With the walkway indicated by those palms?
That's correct. Could be
Okay.
separate buildings. You're
Got
right.
it. And phase 1, there also, I can't really see what's going on. I see community room, I believe.
Yeah, again, these are just ideas that we had and we need your input. If you would like to see a different type of programming, but as you enter to the north of the building, that purple area are hallways. So
Okay.
reception room, you'll see an office, you see a community room, you'll see a senior, and this one it shows as a large senior room to the right, a kitchen, I can't read that either, but I think that's a recreation room and various classroom space. And so that's how this building, by the way, this building is only 1 story.
Okay, single story building there.
Yeah.
Got it. All right. Okay. As I couldn't focus too well, and that's why I was asking for clarification. Okay, that works. That looks good.
And like you said, the building has pedestrian circulation completely around that building because we looked at it from a security standpoint also. We want to make sure that there's access all the way around that building for security purposes and visibility. And so as you go down, as you enter that hallway space and go to the various rooms, you can actually exit to the south west corner, and you see that
Facing the exercise.
the patio space right
Okay.
outside. That's going to be right adjacent to the playground equipment. So you see a bunch of trees that'll give mothers and fathers an opportunity to sit and watch their kids play on the playground equipment. The exercise area that we are also going to be saving in place is directly south of the senior space, or that could be a community space room.
Okay,
Yeah, you got it.
got it.
Okay,
Thanks, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Ron, so it looks like there's a question typed in the chat box from Marvin. So he wants to know how many security cameras are currently in place and where are they pointed to?
in the park, there are no security cameras at this point, but as we design this, we'll get our police department involved in placing the security camera locations. Everything will be patched into the police building, just like our other parks are. We've got cameras at Madison and some other locations. This will be the same.
Well, we're also looking, can I say one thing? We're also looking at cameras within our community centers and outside of our community centers, all
Right.
of them. So whether they're a company that provides services 24/7 or the police department, we're not sure, but we eventually want to get to having them everywhere, because it's just it's needed. There are things that happen to our staff in our community centers, and we need them safe, and we need the community safe. So absolutely, we want to continue to add those cameras in wherever we can as the budget allows. Thank you.
Mr. Ono, it's Raul again.
Yes.
Question, is it possible to propose a substation there? Small substation, maybe on that second story building, providing overwatch of that entire area?
Yeah, that's a possibility.
If we put it, say we put it on the second story building,
Uh-huh.
that gives you a full view of that entire park.
Mm-hmm.
So Ron, so there's two more hands raised. So Mayor Pro Tem and then Marvin Maldonado. Go ahead, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Alyssa. Just a quick question in regards to the basketball court, Ron. When the basketball court is completed, is that going to replace the current basketball courts that are currently at the park, or is that just going to be an extra basketball court for the residents?
Yeah, that will be an extra indoor basketball court. If you look at the concept, well, this one doesn't show it, but the existing volleyball courts and all those activity will be protected in place. So you'll still have those extra basketball courts.
Okay, because the one at the corner will be a full-size indoor court, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And okay, that's what I was concerned for is that, when obviously, when programming is not happening and if this building's ever locked for whatever reason, residents would still have access to those basketball courts outside of the community center, correct?
Correct. And this is a minor item to look at also. If you notice on the east side of the basketball court, we've got some double doors going towards the parking lot. And the reason, exactly right there. And the reason for that is that in the event the council or the community wanted to use that court space as a large meeting area, you could bring in or you could cater it from those double doors.
Oh, got it. Okay.
So up next, Marvin, you had a question. You have your hand raised.
Yeah, hi, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you again for the time. I had similar kind of questions about that northeast basketball court. I didn't realize, or I missed that it's an indoor court versus just another outdoor court there. When I visit the park, I usually come from that direction. I like seeing that nice big grassy area that leads into the park from that corner. But I understand there's also other big, nice grassy areas everywhere on the other sides of the park. And the setup, the way you described that indoor gym, I really like that idea. Kind of reminds me, for anybody that's familiar with UCI, their rec center that has the second level track, going outside the court. I would like to see something like that has the ability to not just be a basketball court, but could be like indoor soccer or badminton or other kind of indoor games. I understand that maybe that's for discussion later down the line. The other thing that I would like to see, and again, it's hard to make out kind of the text on the image here to know what those rooms are designated for. But if there's a technology space that's in the works and somewhere there that where, you know, family, students, you know, computer lab or access to other, you know, portables like iPads or laptops or something, I don't know, something that has that kind of focus would be something that I'd like to see there. And I work at UC Irvine. I oversee STEM education in the schools of engineering and ICS. So that's just to give you some context of where I'm coming from with my perspective and understanding that there's a need for our community to have access to technology. And so if that was something that could be incorporated, I would certainly like to see something like that.
That'd be great. And those are ideas that we'd like to hear. Basically, those are programming ideas that we'd like to. So as we design the space in this building, we'll accommodate the ideas. Have you been to Roosevelt Walker Community Center?
I have not. No, I've moved in May 2019, so I'm a fairly recent resident. So I haven't had a chance to really explore, or as of yet, too many other spaces.
Well, if you do, what you describe is what we have at Roosevelt Walker. So
Gotcha.
it'd be nice. Also, there was a question that came up about Wi-Fi. I believe our park facilities will also be set up for Wi-Fi, public Wi-Fi access.
That's me. I'm sorry, Ron. I'm just chirping in on the comments to remind us to do that.
Okay.
So Ron, there's a couple of questions in the Q&A box. So Greg had 2 questions, but Lisa kind of touched on the first one. He asked, can you talk about what security will be provided? And then his second question was, will we be able to have Memorial Park neighborhood meetings at the park?
I didn't catch the second question. What's the second?
If there will be able to have neighborhood meetings at the park?
Oh, I'm sure that if the facility is
Yes.
designed properly, yes. The question would be yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no problem. We would make sure that we would have accommodations for the community to use the recreation rooms like Ron described, whether they're computer rooms or just open space rooms. Absolutely, that's what it's for.
Lisa, really quick, I'll chime in. In the current space that sits there behind the pool, it's a rather small room. And in the past, we have had neighborhood association meetings there. And it is, we've been able to stuff, 20 to 30 people in there. It is a small, tight space.
Yeah.
But because of COVID, obviously we can't do that. But yeah, definitely. I would make sure that we have meetings and use it for numerous reasons.
Yep, absolutely.
Not only will you have space for meetings, but you'll also have kitchen there that you can accommodate either catering or providing cold drinks and things like that. So we'll have that available to you.
Ron, really quick, Mr. Ono, I have a suggestion to programming as well.
Sure.
As we move forward. I know that I was fortunate enough in high school at Saddleback High School under Santa Ana Unified to still experience a little bit of their just everyday classes that they would have. They used to have cooking class, foods class, homemaking, everything from just personal finance, and that's a lot of curriculum that's been removed from our public education system over the last couple decades. Just little by little has been chipped away. We have a community that would benefit greatly from food, nutrition class, personal finance. I mean, something as simple as how to, maintain a good credit score or apply for a home loan and whatnot. A lot of great just programming of those things that we all do every day. And when we do get to do them, we don't know how. I mean, I couldn't tell you how to now I've been learning because I've been switching the light sockets at my house, but I didn't know how to replace a light socket. And it's something so simple, but just everyday little things will be great programming to bring to the neighborhood. Because I know from thinking of our other community centers, we have, your Zumba, your yoga, we have art, and just your traditional school geared educational keyboarding, computer classes, but we never, from what I know of, have offered programming that for kids that could gear them towards just everyday things. So I would keep that as well as something that we could offer in the future.
That's great, because great ideas. You're thinking outside the box. So programs that we don't offer, we should probably provide. So thank you for the suggestion.
Yeah, I agree, Councilmember Penaloza. This is our hub. We want this a place where people can go and just hang out, or they can take classes. And we want to make sure that the community is receiving classes and programs and services that they want. And it may be different in this area than another community center. So it's going to be very important to engage the community and ask what they want and provide those. And we have plenty of people within the community that can become our contract instructors. We have many people that can help us. And so I think you are right on with that. So
Yes.
great comments.
And one last thing that I would also just personally, I like what Marvin Maldonado mentioned, which, by the way, Marvin, welcome to the neighborhood and welcome to Santa Ana. We're happy to have you and happy to have you here at this neighborhood meeting. But I also personally like to see the green space, the traditional just grass. And that's something that our city lacks in. We lack open space. We lack just grass where our kids could just run or I go for a jog all the time at Memorial Park. And the parking lot, the added parking lot, I have a little trouble with, because it does remove a lot of green space that, for the most part, this park, you have our fields that are used a lot year round with the Little Leagues and Pop Warner. So there isn't much space left for just good old, if I want to go with a friend and play catch or kick a ball around. So we do lose a huge piece of green space in that parking lot area. So I would suggest, because we do have parking along the perimeter, I know that the parking is a problem when we do have the Pop Warner games going on and the Little League games going on. But if we were to wait to build the parking lot during the phase 2 construction, and I'm just thinking out loud here, I'm not necessarily set on that, but I would hate to lose, the least amount of green space we could lose, the better. So if there's a way where we could redesign that parking lot along Flower Street for additional cars there, and to limit, I don't know if it's striping or whatnot, but to limit the amount of green space that we would lose, that'd be something to keep in mind, Ron.
Yeah, I had problems with it also. I wanted to make sure that we kept as much green space as possible. That's why we didn't touch the green space just south of the pool. We just left it alone. We thought, we need some open green space areas. The only reason why the park, and here's a thing you might want to think about, and we don't need to decide now, but the thing is, let's go back to the aerial. Can we go back to the aerial shot? Sure. That parking lot is located pretty much in the center of all the activity. Use that for the ball diamond. You can use that for the basketball courts. You can use that for the phase 1, phase 2. The parking lot that's not going to be used as much unless there's a major event is going to be the one to the east, the one east of the pool. So what you're saying is, maybe as we develop this site and we do all these activity hubs, that parking lot then gets turned into grass. That way from Flower Street, you'll see a nice grass berm or a nice entrance to the park instead of a parking lot. And then we can remove those trees that one of the previous callers mentioned at the last meeting. The trees actually block the visibility into the park. So those heavy ficus trees can be removed. You can put in a nice bermed grass area, just provide enough space in the back so that the caterers can pull their cars in and cater to phase 2. So all that side along Flower can be turned into grass.
Question on that. What if we were to keep the existing parking lot off of Flower on the east side there, wrap that existing parking lot to Annahurst and use a smaller amount of space and still be able to facilitate parking there? So off of Flower and Annahurst, which is this southeast section, what if we were to wrap that parking lot around and then just take a smaller portion of the green area right south of the pool there?
Yeah, you could do that also, but then you put in the parking lot. That means redesigning this whole layout, because then you're putting the parking lot further away from the buildings, especially phase 1, phase 2. It won't be central to those facilities. But you know, we can expand parking wherever we would like to. I'd like to keep as much green space as possible. That's why we kept that green space to the south. Now
Ron, is the parking, is the parking lot a part of phase 1?
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
Phase 1.
Ron, so there's 2 hands raised. That way we can continue with everyone else's questions. Caller with last 4 digits 1887, and then Rudy Hernandez has his hand raised. Caller with the last 4 digits 1887, you have your hand raised. Do you have a question?
Hi. So I was thinking about, I mean, this is not able to, see it, so I don't know exactly where the placement. I can kind of have an idea in my head as you describe it. But I was thinking about, right now what's happening to a lot of people, and a lot of people aren't being able to kind of afford their rent, or they're trying to figure out what's the most cost-effective way of of finding a place to sleep. And as I'm driving around, I get to see, actually, in fact, I just saw there's like a couple who's sleeping in their car, and I thought to myself, what if we potentially could use the parking lot as like, we can double it during the day. So during the morning hours of, like, let's say 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. or the day hours 8 a.m. to 10 p.m., they can serve as just, the public. But then from 10 p.m. and on, for like a nominal fee of, like, I don't know, let's say $20 a night, they can rent out a particular parking space. And they can use that to kind of use that, to sleep. And it can be, once you get enough people going, I think that ends up serving kind of in a 2-pronged way. One, people have access to something that's inexpensive, and it's generating money for, let's say a community center fund for like maintenance, and it can generate a little bit of tax money. And 2, the more people that gather, the less likely people are kind of, the criminal activity kind of tends to go away if there's less people, if there's more people there kind of viewing what's going on. The other thing I was thinking about is, if you guys are looking at the space, one of the things that I see that's pretty successful in a lot of communities that, people tend to be attracted, and they'll come from like Riverside, San Bernardino, is these parks that host like farmers markets. And I know there's one in downtown Santa Ana, and right now it's slow, it's kind of because people aren't quite used to it. But this would be smack dab in the middle of where lots of homes live, and I'm thinking if you guys can add a space for like, let's say community garden, or even you can use the walls of the community center to kind of do like hanging gardens, or kind of like an aeroponics kind of idea. You guys can actually take that same produce and, let's say, sell it, every couple of weeks at the farmers market that's actually hosted within Memorial Park. And again, you can generate money for a maintenance fund within that's done by the community and it's sold to the community and it maintains that community park. The other thing is I was thinking the community center, I think what somebody was mentioning, how you wanted to make sure that it wasn't just basketball, it was like indoor soccer. I was thinking the same thing, but I was considering what about, leaving these spaces or possibilities open for like small business owners, because I myself, I teach yoga, for example. I would really benefit from a space like that, so long as I can get, like, let's say, you guys can figure out certain days or certain times of the month where you guys can charge me a certain amount, and I'll say, well, I want to use this for, 2 hours or whatever, or people who want to use it for, I don't know, their whatever they might need a space, like those gyms. I forget what they call, like I forget what it's called, but all the people kind of come together and they all work out together. I was thinking about that, and I've gone to other cities like in Costa Mesa, and I've gone to actually quinceañeras that are hosted in the community center, and they make pretty good money. I mean, they charge, like, let's say, I don't know, $1,500 just for the youth on a weekend alone. So I'm just kind of thinking, how can we use this space, but also how can we also generate money to maintain it? Because the one thing that I always see is these places are opened up and then they start kind of, the maintenance goes down, because then the city says, well, we already spent $8 million, and how are you asking us for more to maintain? It needs to be kind of self-sustaining as well, or at least to some degree. I would also consider maybe putting like barbecues. The way it's done, like in Irvine Park, it's beautiful. You guys can even consider, I don't know, and I'm not talking like a million. I'm simply talking about like, 10 of them. And I think that would start drawing people, and it would get really, the community used to, hey, Memorial is that hub. It is that center. You kind of can do anything there. You can work, you can play. For the people who can't afford to sleep anywhere, you can sleep here, things like that. So, I mean, like I said, this is without being able to see anything, but I'm just kind of racking my brain.
Good.
Okay, thank you. And Rudy, you had your hand raised.
Yeah. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just wanted to address a couple of things. Going back to Mayor Pro Tem Penaloza. I'm just, if anybody doesn't know me, I'm Rudy Hernandez, the community services supervisor that oversees Memorial. I just wanted to chime in on the conversation that was going on regarding the activities that we have programming, because I'm the one responsible to try and get these innovative programming. So I already have I've done research with the county, America on Tracks, Santa Ana Unified School District, Santa Ana College, to bring in new and innovative programs like health and fitness, health classes for adults, for kids, exercise programs for our after school program kids. So Mayor Pro Tem Penaloza, you're right on it. We've already started that process. Again, with hopes that we can get this grant and provide the community with alternatives. Like we do have a Zumba, and we'll have that, and we'll have ballet classes for the kids, but also, for other parents, like technology, like you had mentioned, in addition to, other classes that we don't have. And just to chime in on the gyms as phase two, I wanted to make sure that we were already doing that. Like at Salgado Gym, we have karate classes that go on there in the gym. We have open gym. We have badminton classes that we're having in. So you guys are right on it. That's the idea and the programming that we're looking at, to be right on top with everybody else in the city and provide our residents the best programming that we can.
Thank you, Rudy. I just wanted to go back. There were a couple of questions. Sonia's had her question for a while on the Q&A box. And her comment, I'm sorry, is in the downtown Santa Ana area, I've seen a kiosk for emergencies. They have a camera. They connect you to emergency services. I would like to see one or two of those at the park as well, please. So Ron, that's additional feedback regarding the security.
Is she talking about the code blue? Unit?
Yes, yes, the
Okay.
emergency,
Yeah.
the code blue, press
Right.
that, yeah.
Yeah. That-
Lisa, did you want to add to that? Lisa Rudloff?
Sorry about, I was trying to answer and I think I
Oh, okay.
did something with her comment. I didn't mean to do that.
Oh,
But
no.
yes, absolutely. The code blue poles or the towers or whatever we call them.
Mhm.
Yes, we need to have those
yeah.
minimum of one per park. But this is big enough. We may need two. Absolutely.
Okay, great. And then we have Greg, who's also submitted a comment. If the basketball court can be utilized by making an appointment so that when unused for basketball, other sports can be played in there. So we're talking about the programming and the options for coordinating that. Thank you, Greg.
Yeah.
Let's go to Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Margarita. I just had another suggestion. Great ideas from the community, from the neighborhood. I just wanted to point out to the previous caller that I believe, Lisa, and correct me if I'm wrong, we're currently in a pilot program. Not sure if it started or not, but I know that we approved it at Thornton Park to have somebody stay at the park pretty much 24/7, kind of be like the eyes and ears and park ambassador. Not sure if we still moved forward with that, but can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, absolutely. That is a park host program. So we're piloting this program at Thornton Park. If you go to Thornton Park at the George Upton barrier-free park, you'll see a cement pad, and we're getting ready to host a park host. So essentially, a person will be living at Thornton Park. They are the connection to the community. They're not security. They're the eyes and ears of the park. They live there for free. They live in their fifth wheel or RV, and they have duties that they do throughout the day, but there's a presence of someone at the park. And I think that will make a difference, and people get to know this park host and create those relationships. And Memorial Park would be a great place for a park host to be because it's a very large park. So if it works at Thornton Park, we certainly, I would like them in all big parks, Centennial Park, Santiago Park, because I think it helps to create that presence. We not only have park ambassadors that drive around to our parks and check out permits and communicate with the community. We have park security, but the park host is an additional thing that we are trying, and we hope that it'll be very successful.
And thank you for that, Lisa. And really quick, just to throw more ideas out there, Ron and Lisa, to limit the amount of green space. We could also. Sorry.
Sorry, Mayor Pro Tem.
Did I freeze?
No. Give us a second. We're trying to switch the interpreting service. So give us so Lisa, I think you have to select the Spanish from your end. Try that.
I think it's because I'm sharing my screen. I can't see that button.
Okay.
So,
Okay, never mind. I'll continue.
Okay.
Excuse us, guys.
Okay, so to limit the amount of green space reduced, I know that the neighbors along Park Drive, Lisa and Ron, and I'm sure Officer Sontag would agree. I've heard from a lot of residents along Park Drive that they have many issues with the back of that back.
Mayor Pro Tem, are you still there?
What would be the west parking lot. Did I freeze?
Yeah,
Yes.
you
We
did.
lost you.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, that I was just basically saying that the residents that live along Park Drive, I've spoken to a few of them, and they all have concerns about the ongoing stuff that they have to deal with that parking lot right behind their homes. So I was thinking the other day as I rode my scooter through the neighborhood, I thought, why not, we take over that stretch of street and expand the green space and allow the park to take over that entire area and not have that a through street, and would expand the green space on the left side on the west side of the park, and help the residents that live along Park Drive, which have also had issues with that parking lot. And it could help minimize the loss of green space. Just an idea, again, just thinking out loud here, but have we thought of that, Ron?
No, we haven't thought about eliminating that parking lot. I know there's a lot of issues with that parking lot, and that's why there's gates on that parking lot. And by the way, just for information, some of the residents was complaining about that wooden fence. We've repaired that wooden fence. I just got notice the other day that it's been repaired. But yeah, I know what you're saying. It kind of makes sense to be grass, but if it's grass, then you may have another issue of loitering back there. So, and then also the elimination of parking for Pop Warner and Pony and the Little Leagues that play there. So I think you're going to need the parking, but for the programs that you already have in the park, how do we manage the illegal activity back there, or the undesirable activity back there? I think that's the biggest question.
Well, that's great. So when you say we repaired the fence, do we have plans to do a cinder block wall, or is it still the wood?
It's still the wood. We don't have the funding to do a cinder block wall along that entire stretch. So we
Right.
as it gets damaged.
Okay. So last thought before, and I'll let some residents chime in as well, but this isn't directly connected to the construction project, but I was in that meeting today with part of to start our parks master plan, which was great, Lisa. Thank you for setting that up. And one thing that I thought of was the stage that we have on the south side of the park. We have it's a great stage. I've lived in Memorial Park for 30 plus years, and I don't think I've ever seen anyone use it for what you would use a stage for. I know that as a teenager, I'd skateboard and try to jump off of it and whatnot, and that's what I see a lot of kids use it for. So I want to plant that idea that we should start activating that stage. Obviously, when CDC guidelines are lifted a little bit, have things like telenovelas in the park or Shakespeare in the park, and have paint and wine night activities. It's a nice area of green space right in front of the stage. There's so many opportunities that we could activate that and focus on the arts and bring entertainment to the neighborhood, and possibly, if we were to have, I know that we're going to start selling alcohol at the zoo, at the Santa Ana Zoo. If we had a day where we'd have a beer and wine night and have a fenced off area for adults to watch a Shakespeare play or telenovela play, or an improv group, and generate revenue, not charge them, but if they want to buy a beer or a glass of wine, let's different ideas. I know we have some of our code doesn't allow that, but I know we've had private events in the past and special events at Centennial Park where we sold alcohol and whatnot. So just ideas, just playing it in your head, Lisa and Ron, as we move forward to try to activate this park and make it a hub. I think it'd be great.
Absolutely. I love that. I think that we just talked about our special events, how, we don't necessarily need to have big, giant special events throughout the city. I mean, we can, but we also need to bring smaller events to communities. So activating the stage or activating that space with a movie night. I mean, we should have concerts in the park. We should have things, as you described, at the community level in Memorial Park and others, and throughout the city. I think it's a great idea, and we're trying to focus that way, and let people walk out their doors, let people walk to their community park and have these activities going on. So yeah, those are great ideas.
I was in Garden Grove and early last year before the shutdown, and they had in one of their parks, it was a small community neighborhood event, and in one area they had a setup roped off for wine and paint or beer and paint, where you had an kind of like Pino's palette where we
Yep.
see at the malls, where you could go and
Yeah.
paint a canvas, a nice little date night. And in the other area, they had a Lego building section, a small area with the rope off as well. And supervisors, the parents were over here painting a canvas and having a glass of wine while the kids, built Legos and robots and did little stem cell projects. It was really cool. And there's and like you said, it's not a grand event, but it's a small little, neighborhood pocket events that would help. I mean, if we started doing those from every now and then at the numerous parks and activating the spaces, that would go a long way.
I agree. Are there more questions on the community building and the grant application? Anything on security, anything? We've talked a lot about programs.
Ron, this is Margarita. I noticed that one of the other board members from Memorial Park, Irma Espinoza, is on the line. And Irma, I know she participated at the last meeting, but Irma, I wanted to see if you had anything to contribute to the discussion.
I would like to just pay my condolences to Raul and his family, first of all. I know we are all going to miss him, just because he's dedicated so many years and so many hours of his personal time to this community and to the city of Santa Ana. And I think all these ideas that we've been listening to all of them are really good. But I think to me, the main focus is to bring the neighborhood together and get to know the neighbors. And if the neighbors get to know each other, we can continue to have a safe neighborhood and a safe park. And I'd like to just tell everybody thank you for participating and just all of their ideas. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ron, would you like to continue on the splash pad, if that's okay?
Yes, if that's all on the community center, let's go to our next presentation, which.
And I'm sorry, Ron. For Steve, I emailed you the presentation since you're participating by phone, so hopefully you got that. I'm sorry, Ron. Go ahead.
Okay. Another exciting project that we're proposing for Memorial Park and 6 other park sites is a splash pad, and we're going to need your input on what this splash pad should look like. Is the location okay? It's the theme. Go to the next slide. So here we are. We need your input, as I indicated, on the proposed splash pad. I need to discuss with you the funding that we currently have available, the location that's being proposed. I need ideas from you on themes. We'll talk about timeline. We'll have community input sessions on all the 6 sites. You're one of them. And but we don't have enough funding for all sites, so the city will need to determine the order of installation based on the funding. Next slide. The 6 sites that we're proposing to put the splash pad in is Campesino Park, Cesar Chavez Campesino Park, El Salvador Park, Madison Park, Memorial Park, the Santa Ana Zoo, and Thornton Park. We currently have $3.5 million available in cannabis funds. but it's going to be a drop in the bucket to what we need to do all these 6 sites. So we still are going to go through the planning process, get the ideas, try to get all the plans together. There'll be some projects that'll be sitting on the shelf, but that way we'll be ready. If grant funds become available, we'll be shelf ready to implement those projects. Next slide. These are some splash pad ideas. We'll go through 3 sheets or pages of various ideas from other cities that have implemented splash pads. Next slide. Here's another idea of the type of splash pad that could be possible at Memorial or the other 5 sites. Next slide. Again, more ideas on what could be possible. Next slide. So here is where we need, actually, I think we're missing a slide. Any your ideas on location for the splash pad, types of themes that we would need?
Yeah, and let me just quickly say that we do have cannabis funding for these sites, for these splash pads. Splash pads can be very intricate, or they can just be, minor. So we're looking at about $1 million, $1.5 million per splash pad. Some of them will be more. But then we just got the quote for all the splash pads, and it came out to be about 15 million. So we're going to have to, because of the soft costs and the hard costs and the plumbing and things of that nature. So we're going to have to figure out how we're going to fund them and phase them throughout the years. We can still use cannabis funding, but they'll just have to be spread out. It seems like a big number, but we do want to do a little planning and get your input on these.
So Ron, so Raul Ramos Jr. has his hand raised.
Okay.
Regarding the location of the splash pads, would that make most sense being connected closest to the pool, say on the Flower Annahurst corner of that park?
Actually, you're correct, because some of the requirements of the splash pad is connection to existing plumbing areas, possibly the same room for the pump system.
Right.
Another requirement is the splash pad should be also close to restroom facilities. So you're absolutely correct. It could be somewhere as close to there. Since he's talking about location, can we go back to the conceptual plan, the aerial?
Looking at the south side of that pool there, where the parking lot has a walkway, asphalt walkway to the exercise area. Am I correct in assuming that that building, the section is the pump house for the pool?
Exactly, you're right.
So then that would be where all our facilities can be connected to, right?
That's absolutely right. It could be there.
And then we just might have to add some restrooms on that section, the walkway that leads to the, was that west, heading into the exercise area where that white, where you have your triangular shading there.
Right.
So we can add restrooms where those looks like little pink bushes on that corner. Would that be a possibility, since you have
that could be a possibility? That could be a possibility. But in the earlier part of the presentation, we mentioned we are putting in a new prefabricated restroom just west of the building. Can you put the aerial?
So there's not a proximity, or like it doesn't have to be, say, 15, 20 feet away.
No, but it has to be within, I believe, 100 feet or 200 feet of the facility.
Okay, so then the new restrooms are going in next to the basketball
court, right?
So then that's enough distance in there.
That should be enough distance. Because we're thinking of the same thing you're thinking of, possibly there, but we see all the walkways kind of intersecting at that location. So we thought the possibility of a splash pad being just west of the exercise area, south of the tot lot. So you see the exercise area, you see the tot lot with the shade structure on the tot lot.
So we got the two shade structures, the one in white and the one in
Right.
red and blue. And
Right.
you're looking at the section.
Looking at it in that corner. Yes.
Okay. Now, a question though, isn't that the section where the stage area is? So wouldn't that, if we were to hosting movies in the park, wouldn't that cut into that section?
Yeah, no, I think that's why I wanted to go to the aerial and see how much we're gonna take up. But the shade, I mean the
So see, you've got those white triangular section for the exercise.
you got the white triangle, yes, and you see the tot lot, and you see a row of trees. It
Right.
could go right there and it still won't impact the stage.
Okay.
It all
And then
depends on
you'll
how
tap-
big you want, how big we design this thing too, though. You know.
Right. And then you would tap the plumbing into the restrooms that are going in that section.
Exactly.
Well, yeah, that works too. But I'm thinking if the green area on the south of the pool there is not really utilized for much, that to me also is a good spot too. But however the community feels.
Yeah.
Since your plumbing's there, you got your pump house, you got your plumbing, your electrical. It's all already there. But yeah, we'll see how the community decides on what they believe is the best position.
So Ron, Greg had a comment and a question in the Q&A box. His comment was, I would like to see a photo of Raul at the park, Raul Ramos. And his question was, is liability a problem with splash pads? Does 15 million include the cost of liability?
The city is self-insured. So obviously all our park sites are under that umbrella of insurance. The splash pad, this is going to be our first opportunity to put a splash pad in Santa Ana. We don't have one. We've only got pools, and so we'll see. I'm not sure about if we've had if the other cities had problems with splash pads. The other issue is that has come up, well, not an issue, but other questions have come up is, should we fence or leave the splash pad open? You know, so there's being support for leaving it open, and there's also some comments of possibly fencing. And one city, just to give you an idea, one city actually fenced it. It would be open for the public, but the reason for the fence was people could reserve it and have private activities in the splash pad area.
Question for Mr. Hernandez, if possible. What is our current policy as far as liability or insurance when the public goes into the pool area? Do they have to sign a waiver, or is there any procedure for that?
Lisa, you want to?
Yeah, sure. No, anybody participating in any programs in Parks and Recreation, basketball, football, softball, whatever, what have you, they don't have to sign a liability waiver. They actually, when they register for a program, there's some type of disclaimer. But as far as splash pads, I don't know if there's been any. A lot of cities have them. It's a great opportunity to not have to build another pool, but an opportunity for the public to utilize water and have the kids have fun. But I don't know of any issues with splash pads in other cities. I'm sure our city attorneys will inform us of that if that's an issue. But our risk management will take care of us as far as liability for the city.
Yeah, and the reason for the question is that if we were to section the splash pad off and connect it to the pool, and granting access through the pool to the splash pad, we would be able to control traffic, because my understanding, the splash pad is a rubberized walking surface, correct?
Right,
So-
yeah,
So we would want to limit who's actually walking on there. Say somebody wearing cleats, we don't want them destroying the rubberized coating on that.
that's
So
correct.
wouldn't it make more sense to fence it off, control access, same entry point as a pool, or even a secondary entry point where we can monitor who's going in and make sure there's no damage to the property.
That's a great point. That is a great point. It's a little unnerving to have them sitting out all night. We know what happens to our park with vandalism, and this would be a huge price to fix these things if they. So maybe fencing would be something we need to look at, or make it a part of our pool. And eventually, I would like to gut that pool and put in, a pool that's more like you have a children's zero depth entry where the kids can go in and play. You can have like a swim lesson portion of the pool. At a previous agency I worked at, we put in water slide, tube slides, 2 of them. And so more of a family friendly activity pool, which makes it much better for the folks to use it, because a 50 meter pool, you can do diving, you can do swimming, but there's other things that I think that the community would enjoy if we gutted that pool at some point. It's only money.
But in my opinion, I think that would be a good idea to connect the pool and the splash park or splash pad together. That way we can control access, and after hours, someone can't walk in there and just damage the thing.
It's a great idea. Yep.
Thank you, Raul. Ron, so there's one hand raised, Steve Gallegos. Go ahead, Steve.
Hey, so I think that the splash pad idea, I think it's a fun idea. I do want to mention though that growing up, I would always frequent Ida Memorial. That's where I did like all the swimming lessons. So I was there pretty frequently during the summers. But also in Thornton Park, they actually installed these kind of, it's not a splash pad, but they were like tubes, like those circular tubes, and you were supposed to run through and water was supposed to spray at you. And there was also these other kind of metallic things. Now, in all the years that I've lived here, literally, I have never seen it turned on, not once. So my only apprehension is, if you guys are going to spend money on, it's $1.5 million, and I'm thinking that's almost 20% of the $8 million that you guys need to figure out where you're going to get. I'm thinking, what is going to be done to ensure that these are maintained properly, that they're going to be functioning in the future, and not only work for, let's say, a year, and then all of a sudden something happens and there's no money to fix it.
You bring up a good point. That once we start building all these splash pads, I was mentioning to Lisa that we would probably need to bring in a special aquatic type supervisor to maintain that, or contract out the maintenance of these splash pads to ensure that they are operational for the public use. The one at Thornton, you're right. We tried to get it operational. The problem we had there was electricity. There was no electricity close to the site. We did have a solar panel for the irrigation system, but there's no hard electricity. But now that we're putting in a new restroom and some other services, we've asked that round splash area be connected so that it will be operational.
So the Thornton one, the Thornton one will be operational soon, because I do have to mention it's been off for, I want to say, more than a decade. I've never seen it once turned on. So I just want to ensure that if you guys are going to utilize this amount of money to build something of that, size, to really not run into problems that take a decade to kind of, resolve. So
Right.
that's That's what I mean. So I think, you know, what one of the gentlemen was saying, I think it does absolutely make sense to put it right adjacent to that, to Memorial Pool, because one, they already have a fixed gate that really kind of controls traffic coming in, and really it can just be an extension of that portion. And really you can just lock it up at night to ensure that, you know, vandalism doesn't occur.
Absolutely, sir. I'm not sure your name, but your comments are right on. And this is for you, Mayor Pro Tem Penaloza. If we continue to add things to our parks and our facilities, we add amenities, we have to have the money to properly maintain these sites, and turn on the electricity, turn on the water. And so you're right, it's going to be an added budget item, but I think it's worth it for the community. So we'd be looking for your support.
Lisa, were you eavesdropping on my Parks Master Plan call today?
I was not.
Okay, that's exactly what I said. You know, they asked me what one of my main priorities was, and I said, well, you know, I could sit here and say I want, you know, all the amenities in the world, you know, and additional parks and add parks everywhere we can, but at the end of the day, when you buy a car, you know, you gotta maintain it, you know, over its life. You gotta pay for an oil change. You gotta put gas in it. You gotta, you know, pay for your updated driver's license every couple of years. So, and parks the same thing. You gotta maintain it. So, I said, I know that we struggle with just basic upkeeping of the current amenities and parks that we have. So whatever we can, you know, I don't want to invest $18 million in a community center when I know that 10 years from now, it's going to be falling apart because it hasn't seen a fresh coat of paint, or you know, the AC doesn't work, and or there's mold because of leaks and that were never fixed. And so we got to make sure, and I'm all supportive and all in for making sure that our Parks and Rec department has the financing it needs to maintain our amenities. I know that last year, that's one of the things that I personally pushed for, was just additional park inspectors that could inspect the work we contract out, because we pay millions of dollars in work being contracted out with different contractors. But I know we had a problem with not knowing if the work was completed, you know, or not, if it was completed up to standard. And those are things that we definitely gotta put more focus to, which is what I brought up at the call today, which is why I asked if you were eavesdropping.
That's funny. That's great. No, I think that's great. I've been doing this 30 years. I've been in the parks and recreation profession 30 years. Every agency that I've ever worked for, when you open a new facility, I say take pictures the first day you open a new facility, because sadly, it just deteriorates and people do not put money back into those facilities. So I think that if we have some type of plan that we can properly maintain our parks and facilities, that would be fantastic.
Can I just chime in? I'm sorry, one more time. This is Steve. So that's actually what I kind of was talking about. I was trying to find out a way to convey it to you, but I think now that I'm actually settled in my house, I think I can convey it to you better. What I was talking about letting, you know, using that using the parking space as a two-pronged kind of area from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m., you can have it for public use. But what I'm saying is that instead of wasting that space and just locking it up to, you know, not gather anybody there, what I was saying is that what if you opened it up to people to charge them, let's say $20 a night to park their car there, or their RV, or something to that degree? Because I'm looking at it, let's say if there's only 20 spaces at $20 a night, you're looking 20 times, let's see, 20 at 20 spaces times just 30 days, that's $12,000. Now I'm thinking that could be utilized towards a maintenance fund, or even if you don't want to go that route, why don't you look at small business owners and say, hey, we'll rent out the community center for an X amount of money. Again, it can go towards the maintenance of that community center. That way you have this self-sustaining kind of program, as opposed to one where we just get this large grant of money and then it just deteriorates. Because unfortunately, you know, the council members who are up there right now, you know, Mr. Penaloza right now, he's not always going to be there. So he might be an advocate for Parks and Rec, but the next person that comes in may not be an advocate for Parks and Rec. And historically, we have seen that one of the first place that money gets taken from is Parks and Recreation.
You're absolutely right. Thank
Yeah,
you, Steve.
you're absolutely right.
Okay, so it looks like no one else has any questions. We are at like an hour and a half of our meeting. If no one else has any questions, we're going to conclude the meeting. Anyone else?
Alyssa,
sure.
I wanted this is Mayor Pro Tem Penaloza. I wanted to put our officer on the spot here. Maybe I know safety is a huge issue in our neighborhood and Memorial Park. If maybe Officer Sontag wanted to chime in for a couple minutes to give us an update of what's going on in the neighborhood.
Go ahead, Corporal Sontag.
I know the first thing I'd recommend, just listening, I'm not going to trying to make any kind of crazy recommendations because again, I don't live in the park. I work here, and while that's important to me, I'll let you guys dictate how you want the park set up. The one thing I would recommend is that blue light cameras. We've had a lot of success with that, both in the downtown area and a couple parks that we do have those in. So that would be a big recommendation on our part for the police department. And the only thing, I did kind of like the location of that added parking lot. And the only reason is if we have to respond, typically we're going to be responding to one of the buildings. And with that quick access and that quick location of the parking lot right next to the buildings, I think that'd be advantageous. However, I understand if it's the requirements or the recommendations that you guys would rather have the green belt, I completely understand. And God knows we all would rather look at grass than we would another concrete jungle aspect of a parking lot. As far as the rest of that goes, we haven't had as many issues with Memorial Park as we have with some of the other parks in the vicinity or in the city. So in that regards, it's been pretty good. That doesn't mean that it's without any kind of fault of any kind, but there's no pressing issues unless there's something that I'm missing that I haven't been made aware of.
Thank you, sir.
I also wanted to add, this is Margarita. You know, one of the newer kind of assignments that our police chief is working on is having officers be present at neighborhood association virtual meetings, regardless if they're on the agenda or not. So we welcome you, Corporal Sontag, for being here and just really listening, you know, to the participation, to the comments, the rich dialogue, I think, that has taken place today regarding these future amenities, and just even you as an officer who's aware, you know, of all of the activity happening, just being able to chime in and introduce yourself.
No, and I appreciate the opportunity to even be here, because much like it kind of personalizes it between myself and you, it also personalizes the relationship that I can see, the caring and the emotions that go into a project of this magnitude, and just how important it is to the community as a whole.
Great.
So for that, thank you.
Thank you. I wanted to see if Pastor Durley, I know that you participated in the earlier meeting, but did you have any questions?
No, I kind of ditto what Corporal Sontag was saying, because I don't live in the area, and you guys are, you know, great and have more, you know, input than I do. I would just, you know, from last time out, the trees along Flower Street, but to me, just coming to Brown Temple Church, it's always like a deterrent when I see cars parking. My first thought is that they're doing something illegal, trying to be, you know, somewhat shady up under the trees. So that was my recommendation for is removing some of the trees to make it more appealing to me, you know, to, I think, others as they come up and down Flower Street. And I miss Mr. Ramos.
Thank you, Pastor Durley.
Margarita, can I add a quick update that I just remembered?
Of course.
For the residents that have tuned in, I know that I've gotten calls regarding the modern day flow of traffic that's exiting the parking structure that was recently constructed on St. Andrew. The idea and whole plan, from what I remember, was that the flow of traffic was going to be forced to make a right turn on St. Andrew out towards Bristol and St. Andrew, where the new four-way light intersection was installed. And I know that I've received numerous calls and emails about the flow of traffic not obeying the no left turn sign and making a left turn into the neighborhood as they exit the parking structure, causing backed up traffic jams up along Baker and St. Andrew and Park Drive. So that's something that I'm working on and I'm aware of, and currently have a meeting set up in the next couple of weeks with the people in Modern Day and traffic to get to the bottom of that and come up with a better plan. I just wanted to update those listening because I believe some of you have asked. So with that said, that's all I have.
Thank you. And we do have a question from Greg for Corporal Sontag. How can we find out what is being broadcasted when a helicopter is making an announcement?
I'm assuming that it has to do with you're not able to make out the what the notification or what the helicopter is trying to say. I know sometimes with the feedback, both from the microphone and just the loud nature of the helicopter itself, if you call into the police department, they can always just say, hey, I'm a resident over here. I hear the helicopter, but I can't make out what they're saying. That'd probably be your easiest bet. For the most part, it's usually missing children that we're looking for. However, there's obviously situations where we're also looking for other people with a little more danger involved. So that's always the best bet, would probably just be to contact the police department on the non-emergency line and just simply ask.
And there was a follow-up question that Mr. Gregg had. It was about, like, is there a website, like, instead of calling, you know, is the announcement of the helicopter that's making it, is there like a place on the police's website that they can check, or is the best bet to call, like you're saying?
No, I think the best bet would be to call. I know we do have an Instagram page, but I don't think it's updated that rapidly.
Thank you. So I just wanted to turn it back to our parks team. Lisa, Ron, and Rudy, based on the participation at tonight's meeting, do you have the additional information you were looking for from the community's participation tonight?
Yeah, this is Ron. Ono. I, as they were speaking, I was jotting down little notes on what they would like to see, and I really appreciate it. I've got notes of security cameras inside and out, possibly brick facade on the building, substation. People like the track on the second floor, possible indoor soccer or multi-use of the gymnasium. Keep as much green space as possible. Use of the parking lot at night for other type of revenue producing ideas. Code Blue. On program side, I've got computer labs, everyday classes, personal finance classes, provided service, community garden, farmers market, business rental possible spaces, some barbecue. So I think I've jotted down most of the comments provided tonight, and I really appreciate it. And we will submit the application with your additional ideas.
If I may, I just wanted to add for Marvin, I know that Mr. Ono mentioned that the information that, or the request that you made about the technology, we already have at Roosevelt. So obviously when things get better, please call me. I can facilitate a little walkthrough so you can see the way that we're set up. And I think you'd be surprised on what we have. So hopefully that's something that we can do in the future when everything's good.
Thank you, Rudy. Appreciate that.
I'm glad Rudy mentioned that because I completely slipped my mind that the security cameras at Roosevelt Walker, there's actually a monitor in the office. They can see the parking lot. They can see the back of the building. They can actually see the basketball court. They can see the sports field from this monitor that's in their office. So that we can almost duplicate what we have at Roosevelt Walker here at Memorial, so that we have more eyes and ears into the park.
And I can chime in because the cameras are in my office. I've had Santa Ana PD come into my office to look for surveillance, possible surveillance video of something that's going on. And we've been lucky enough to provide them with what they were looking for. We had missing child, stolen vehicle that happened to pass by. So they were kind of just piecing the timeline. Again, in our parking lot, vandalism, we're able to see who's out there. So yeah, it's a very intricate system, but again, it helps deter any nonsense that might go on there.
Thank you, Rudy. I just wanted to go back to one of the attendees, Gabriel Carrillo. You were like first who joined the meeting. Did you have any comments?
This is Jose Carrillo.
Okay, go ahead, Jose.
Let me talk in Spanish a little bit.
Está
If
bien.
you can translate.
Sure.
Yo solo de todo lo que he estado escuchando, le quería comentar un poco. Todo lo que se ve que se va a hacer está muy bien. Lo único que noté un poco es de que como que necesitamos envolvernos más la comunidad, haciendo teams para, por ejemplo, están comentando de que el rubber del splash del Kitty Found se puede lastimar. Bueno, yo tengo una poca experiencia y no lo he visto que se lastime en los primeros 4 o 5 años. Después, de eso, pues, y si va a estar abierto, debe de estar al público, no encerrarlo, ponerle un gate, ¿verdad? Entonces, lo que yo digo es, si se pueden hacer ya una vez que estemos trabajando en eso, teams de la comunidad para, pues, ¿cómo se dice? Animar a las personas de cuidar nuestro parque, nuestra comunidad y envolverlos un poco más entre, como acababan de decir, amigarnos más en esta comunidad, en esta área.
Okay.
Y cuidarnos nosotros mismos.
Gracias. So let me take a shot at interpreting for Mr. Jose. So, so what he's sharing is that, you know, he's heard all of the comments. He's, you know, taken notes, but he really feels that we really need more community involvement and in the form of teams. From his experience, the material, the rubber material that the splash pad is made of, he really hasn't seen any damage like the first, you know, 5 years. He had another comment about the splash pad. If it's open, it ought to be open to the public and not gated. But once this project furthers along and teams are formed, teams from the community can help encourage, you know, to be able to take care of the park, to be able to involve more members of the community to help take care and keep eye on the park and take care of each other. And it's similar to a comment that was shared earlier about, you know, watching out for each other. Thank you, Mr. Jose. Okay, so I think I think we're ready to call it a wrap for tonight's meeting. We really appreciate everyone who turned out. Mayor Pro Tem, who lives in Santa Ana Memorial Park, thank you for being part of this. Corporal Sontag, the Parks team, Alyssa, and everyone from the neighborhood who was able to join us tonight. Irma Espinosa, Raul Jr., and we'd like to close the meeting in honor of the late Raul Ramos Sr. So out of respeto, we, you know, he did a lot for the neighborhood, and yeah, we're still in shock. But Raul Jr., we really appreciate all of your comments and your participation tonight. I think you're definitely, you know, representing your dad's spirit and, you know, his heart, his corazón, you know, for the community. It's very, very important. So thank you all. We'll end it in honor of
Excuse me.
Raul. Yes, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I have one ask. Is that they had mentioned about the stage not being used there at the park.
Yes.
And I wonder what would it take if Brown Temple could have a Easter sunrise service at that park at this coming Easter Sunday morning.
Okay. So Rudy,
And
would
what
you
would
be
it
able
take?
to speak on that? Hold on, Rudy.
There, are you good?
Yes.
So, Pastor, yeah, we can definitely reserve it. I just wanted to kind of comment on the stage and just kind of let everybody know. Obviously, pre-COVID, everything pre-COVID, right? We used to have, we used to program that area. We used to have our talent show. I think Mayor Pro Tem, you're familiar with our talent show. We used to have it at Salgado. We've had it at Memorial Park. We've had our Memorials Tiny Top program. The pre-K, we would have their graduations on the stage. We'd have, I think it was 5 years running, we had a nonprofit do a dance competition every April for 5 years in conjunction with the school district. So we've had activities there and program there. So absolutely, the more the merrier. Obviously, we all know the more good people are in the park, the less bad people are going to be in their park. So obviously, if we can get that going, that would work. Pastor, let me check with our reservations team, and then we'll connect.
Yeah, Rudy, I could send you his contact for sure.
Thank you.
Yes, for sure. Absolutely.
And then we have a question from Greg. The best way to contact Mayor Pro Tem Penaloza.
Oh, you know, as a matter of fact, I will, let me put my contact information in the chat. I will put my email and personal cell phone number, which I give freely to anybody who wants it. Please send me a text message, call me. Very happy to swing by. Like I said, I constantly go up and down every street in the neighborhood on my scooter. If you see me, wave me down. Yeah, but that's my cell phone number and my email. And Rudy, just a quick question. What is inside the stage? I noticed there's a little space there. I've always been curious. I walk by it every day.
So before Mayor Pro Tem, I'm sure you're familiar. We used to have, back in the days, we used to have haunted house that we used to do a memorial. So most of the storage for that was in that little area. So we used to also run kind of outdoor recreation activities. So we used to use it as a little storage for our equipment.
Okay, thank you.
So that's what else, yeah.
Okay, so I have Greg, you had some other questions, Greg. Do you want to speak? Would you be able to unmute yourself, Mr. Greg? Okay, there you are.
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
These are all for Mayor Pro Tem Penaloza. One of them was regarding the sidewalk defects. For years, the tree in front of my house has been constantly damaging the sidewalk, and the city just constantly patches with black asphalt and also grinds the sidewalk. It needs patching and grinding again. It looks horrible. So who can I contact to do a sidewalk replacement, or is it too late to do that?
We could definitely take a look at it, sir. Do you know what street or where approximately it is, if you don't mind sharing that?
1210 Camden Place.
1210 Camden Place. Okay, I'm going to take a look, because I know that Public Works has been working around the clock to replace many of these sections of sidewalk.
Okay.
There were some on Park Drive and some on St. Andrew, from Main Street all the way to Bristol, that were just, the trees had, I mean, they were like this, and for years and years and years, they were just being scratched down and patched up. So I understand what you're asking.
Like me.
But I will go by personally myself first and look at it and then see what we could do, okay?
Okay. The other question has to do with Bristol widening project. Is it still on target to begin construction soon?
I sure hope so. I'm gonna be the first one barking down Public Works. I had
I'll be right behind you.
yeah, last meeting I had was 6 months ago with Public Works. If you guys noticed, they just recently demolished the real estate company that was on the corner of Warner and Bristol, which was one of the last remaining property acquisitions. So now that that's gone, I'm hoping that this moves quickly. I was told winter, I was told summer 22 was the completion. So I'm gonna follow up and see fourth quarter 22 actually.
Okay.
And see where that's at. But I'm hoping, because it's 1990, I was a year old and it was still, that's when construction started.
Yeah, this is my last question. Yeah, I sent you an email. I don't know if it gets to you, if it gets to your staff. So in the past, I felt that complaints about air quality and water quality were overblown. But now I'm realizing that these concerns are real serious problems. I'm looking forward to hearing the Santa Ana City Council to address these concerns in detail. Do I call the city manager to put this on the agenda, or what do I do?
To address the air quality issue?
And also water quality. I sent an email to you just a couple of days ago on the 16th.
I don't think I saw it. I do check my email daily, but forward it to me again just to make sure I have it. But right now is the perfect opportunity to address all air quality and land zoning areas, because we are updating our general plan, and it was supposed to be, they were trying to rush it last year, and we fortunately were able to stall it and give an additional 6 months to a year of for that purpose, to address the community concern with the environmental justice component of our just neighborhoods. I mean, there are a lot of our neighborhoods are being impacted by the land quality, air quality, toxins in the air, and it's a great opportunity. So send an email to me, or you said you did, forward it to me. I will forward it to our planning department and include you. I know they're having lots of meetings from now until June. Margarita could also provide that information.
Mr. Gregg, I'm sorry. I was just going to add, Mr. Gregg, that we're going to be kicking off the first environmental justice community meeting that would include Santa Ana Memorial Park and Delhi neighborhood. We're looking at mid to late March. So yes, we are going to be following up with those of you on this call, because parts of your neighborhoods fall within what the state designates as an environmental justice area. So yes, the timing is perfect.
Okay, so I had sent this to D. Penaloza at santa-ana.org. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
I'm looking now. I don't see it, but go ahead and send it again, and I'll make sure to check it out.
Okay, just real quick, it has to do with All American Asphalt Company, DuPont, 3M, and others. And then that's with regards to dangerous emissions. And then also with regards to the water, it has to do with PFAS contamination. And if some of the listeners want to look into that, they could go to the PFAS Project Lab website, and they will get more information there. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I really appreciate your help. You're doing a great job.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Margarita, maybe just a suggestion for our next neighborhood association meeting. Maybe we could bring in Nabil's team at with the water and traffic to just give a little water presentation of you know, because I know there's a lot of changes going on there as well with updating our water pumps and at every home in the next, you know, 5 to 10 years with modernizing it and just the quality in general, as well as traffic would be nice to, because there's a lot of concerns on St. Andrew and a lot of concerns on St. Gertrude and Flower. So including those two departments at the next meeting would be appreciated.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Alyssa, we have another, who else? We have Mr. Raul Jr. Go ahead, Raul.
Thank you. Well, now in closing, if there aren't any more other questions or concerns, I just like to thank everyone for attending and taking time out of your day to help the association and their members. And thank you for all your kind words. I definitely appreciated my family and I. And I'm including in the chat my father's email address, which I will now take over and monitor. If there's any concerns that you want to address, send me an email and I'll be able to work with you. My association and I will be able to work with you and help you address those concerns. But again, thank you all for coming to the meeting, taking time out of your day, and definitely for your kind words. I will let my family know, and we appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, everyone. Well, thank you so much. So we will be ending this meeting in honor of the late Raul Sr. So thank you, everyone, and have a good night and be safe.
Thank you.
Bye. Good night.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.